Taiwan's ruling party clears a big obstacle as a proposed $12.6 billion relief budget gets a first pass in the legislature. But it could still face a rocky road ahead.
稍微有些急迫性的，好，那我们都愿意来做配合。
Mike Waltz is out as U.S. National Security Advisor, the first big shakeup of Trump 2.0. We look at what this means for future policy. With just one day until Australians head to the polls, what's driving voters' concerns?
I think for me it's mostly commitment to a better future for the environment and the planet.
Plus, an island in the Philippines is at the center of the latest Chinese espionage scare. Hello and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao with the latest. Thanks for joining. Taiwan's more than $12 billion tariff relief plan has just cleared its first hurdle in the legislature. The ruling party is pushing to fast-track the bill, but there may be challenges ahead. Taiwanese goods bound for the U.S. may face tariffs up to 32% in the coming months. That's as U.S. President Donald Trump looks to address trade deficits with other countries. For now, the levies are on a temporary 90-day hold. Taiwan's cabinet has put forth a $12.6 billion budget to soften the anticipated blow. But the country's legislature must first agree to it. That's a big hurdle for the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, which has a minority in the legislature. But even amid souring relations across parties, Premier Zhou Rongcai has tried smoothing things over with the opposition Kuomintang and the Taiwan People's Party. Earlier this week, he visited each party's legislative caucus, hoping to garner support for the budget. Opposition parties are keen to help Taiwan weather the tariff storm.
高关税对产业、对劳工的冲击，政府要投入资源去协助他们。 台湾民众党100%支持。
But concerns loom that the special budget contains unnecessary spending.
但现在蹦出来的4100亿里面有一大半，我们认为目前为止看不到跟关税直接的相关。
Among the items is a $3 billion subsidy for Taiwan's power provider, Taipower, which has been operating amid mounting multi-billion-dollar losses. The opposition says the proposed subsidy reflects the ruling administration's poor energy policy.
现在政府又想要再拨补1000亿，这代表我们每发1度电，我们每用1度电，我们都在亏钱。
The premier says the special budget isn't just about U.S. tariffs.
这不仅仅是因应美国关税政策的调整、国际贸易秩序的重整，而是因应到整个国际情势。所以我们在内容上做了比较多的改变跟增加。
But the opposition may now be softening. On Friday, the special budget proposal passed its first reading in the legislature. It will now be sent for committee review. DPP lawmakers have called on their opposition counterparts to expedite the process.
希望各党团能够签出不复议的同意书。我现在国民党签了，民进党签了，我等一下会跟民众党的党鞭来请求他们的协助。
The opposition says it understands the urgency of the situation and will do what's best for Taiwan, but that it will also continue to keep government spending in check.
稍微有些急迫性的，好，那我们都愿意来做配合。不管在4100亿或者是解冻案的部分，我们仍然会本于在野党的职责来做严格把关。
Politically, ruling and opposition parties may not see eye to eye. But in the face of an imminent tariff threat from the U.S., they're prioritizing keeping Taiwan's head above water. James Lin and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. Mike Waltz has been removed from his job as U.S. National Security Advisor. He marks the first major casualty of Donald Trump's second-term cabinet. Reese Ayers has more.
I just heard this from you. This is the magic. Well,
That's the moment the US State Department's spokesperson found out from a reporter that Washington just lost one of its top officials. It was an announcement made, as so many are, in a social media post by President Donald Trump, where he revealed that Mike Waltz would no longer be serving as National Security Advisor, the first major personnel shakeup in Trump's second term. In Waltz's place, in the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Marco Rubio, unbelievable. Unbelievable, Marco. When I have a problem, I call up Marco. He gets it solved. He gets it solved.
Mike Waltz's reputation never fully recovered after he accidentally added the editor of a US magazine into a group chat that contained details of imminent military plans, what's become known as Signalgate. Now Waltz is tipped to become the ambassador to the United Nations, but that's a position he'll need to be confirmed for, which is far from guaranteed. In light of his firing, some Republicans have thanked Waltz for his service.
He has served his country so well in so many different capacities. Just really proud of him and his service. Thank you.
And while Democrats celebrate his removal, some are concerned that Waltz is being used as a scapegoat.
The Trump security team is a hot mess. And the one who should go is not the fall guy, Michael Waltz. It is the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who is responsible. He should be held accountable. He should be fired right now.
It's also expected that Alex Wong, the Deputy National Security Advisor, and others may also soon be ousted. Trump is yet to make any announcements about who might relieve Marco Rubio as National Security Advisor in the long run. But for now, at least, Mike Waltz has left the chat. Joseph Wu and Rees for TaiwanPlus.
Beijing says it's open to talks with Washington after it says the U.S. expressed a willingness to negotiate on tariffs. In an announcement on Friday, China's Commerce Ministry added that the U.S. should be prepared to take action to correct erroneous practices and cancel unilateral tariffs. Chinese imports to the U.S. currently face a 145% levy, with a 125% duty going the other way. Both sides have recently exempted some product from the tariffs, such as semiconductors and pharmaceuticals, in a slight easing of trade tensions. Chinese women married to Taiwanese citizens celebrated an early Mother's Day at an event held by the Mainland Affairs Council and Straits Exchange Foundation in Taipei. They called for more support and understanding at a time when the government is tightening rules on cross-strait exchanges.
10几年没回去，父母亲也不在了，然后整个有时候村就是比较偏僻嘛，都没有什么人了啊，他也不知道要去找谁，回去也没地方住。我们就是大家都说，哎，能不能开一些说明会，在各个地方开一些说明会，让我们大家都知道说，哎，我要怎么样来办这件事情。
Chinese spouses have been under scrutiny after several Chinese influencers living in Taiwan had their residency permits revoked for posting videos supporting unification by force. Taiwan's immigration agency recently asked over 10,000 Chinese spouses and their children to submit proof they have given up their household registration in China or risk losing their legal status in Taiwan. At the event, the Mainland Affairs Council said they would do their best to support Chinese spouses who may have experienced discrimination because of these developments.
由于这些事件呢成为社会焦点之后啊，我想来自于社会的四面八方可能你们也会人家对你投射异样的眼光，或者是一些批评。我们感谢各位支持政府，我们也很知道各位所受的委屈。那我们今天来到这边跟大家报告，我们政府支持各位，关心各位，没有改变。
There are around 360,000 Chinese spouses living in Taiwan. The Philippines is investigating an alleged spy caught with covert recording equipment ahead of midterm elections there. It's one of a growing number of espionage cases involving Chinese nationals in the Philippines. Rick Laut reports from the Philippines on the regional battle against Chinese influence.
This is Grande Island in the Philippines. It's 100 acres of tropical paradise and home to a holiday resort leased to a company with Chinese investors. It's also strategically located at the mouth of Subic Bay, a key naval port on the Philippines' west coast. Just over a month ago, 6 Chinese nationals were arrested on Grande, charged with espionage, kidnapping and illegal detention.
if in the wrong hands and for wrong purposes, it could play a very significant role in just monitoring the security in this entire area.
Now, the Philippines Defense Department could take over the island. It's deemed a national security concern as tensions mount with Beijing over rival claims to territory in the nearby South China Sea. It's from ports here at Subic Bay that Philippine Navy sail out to challenge and ward off Chinese vessels that have entered Philippine waters. But the case of Grande Island shows that the struggle with Beijing is not just taking place out at sea. According to Philippine authorities, Chinese espionage is on the rise across the country. They say Beijing is gathering intelligence, spreading fake news and influencing local leaders, hoping to undermine trust in Philippine institutions and paint itself as the victim.
Some of the Filipino people are just jittery, some are alarmed, but many are worried. That's why we also go on an offensive to reassure the Filipino people, the public, that we're not here to wage war, but we're simply pushing back. A few hundred kilometers north, across the Luzon Strait, Taiwan, which China claims as its territory, faces a similar battle for public opinion. There, for the first time, President Lai Ching-te has labelled China a hostile foreign force, calling on Taiwanese to expose Chinese collaborators and warning about fake news being spread by Beijing.
面对日益严峻的威胁，政府不会停止努力，全力确保国家主权不受侵害，确保2300万人民的自由、民主和生活方式永续如常。但只凭政府的力量尚有不足，我们更需要全体国民的共同警觉和行动。
The Philippines, too, knows that its people are the first line of defence. Schools here launching media literacy classes and officials encouraging the public to report suspicious activity. It was local fishers who found this submersible reconnaissance drone, suspected of sending information to China.
The antenna is now above the surface. It could receive, process, transmit data through satellite communications.
In the seas near the Philippines and Taiwan, China has increasingly made its presence known, asserting its claims of sovereignty by boosting the number of boats and planes it sends into these disputed waters. And just as Beijing is trying to control territory, it's also trying to control the narrative. Though there are signs that Beijing's information war is bearing little fruit, opinions in this region are hardening against China. People wary of an external threat not only to their country's territory, but also to their way of life. Fu Hua Hong, David Santos and Rick Lowett in Subic Bay for TaiwanPlus.
Australian voters are heading to the polls on Saturday to choose the country's next government. Incumbent Labour Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is facing off with opposition head Peter Dutton for the top job. Rosie Greninger has more.
With just one day until Australians head to the polls to decide the country's next leader, 4 million people have already cast their ballots in early voting. Residents are choosing between incumbent Labour Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Liberal coalition leader Peter Dutton, with key issues in mind.
I think for me it's mostly commitment to a better future for the environment and the planet, commitment regarding the cost of living for families around here, particularly around housing, and health and education, and more funding for those two areas.
18 million people are set to have their say in this election, with voting mandatory in Australia. And this year, the power is in the hands of younger generations, as for the first time millennials and Generation Z outnumber baby boomers. Many first-time voters say they aren't happy with either option.
Both major parties are ruling for the rich. I think the Labor Party have done nothing for ordinary people since they've been elected. I think, Peter Dutton would be worse, but I think there's no positive case for the Labor Party either.
According to the latest polls in Australia, Labor is poised to win by an increased majority. The party is also edged ahead of the coalition in the primary vote, projected to win 31.4% of votes compared to the coalition's 31.1%. But growing discontent among voters has seen both main parties' primary figures drop compared to the last federal election in 2022. many turning to alternative parties, including the Greens, One Nation and the Independents. Labour is promising tax cuts, housing and health incentives, and have said they will focus on renewable energy. Albanese warning that a vote for Dutton will mean mayhem.
Well, I say to Australians on May 3, make sure you know where the destination is, because it is destination chaos and destination shambles and destination cuts from Peter Dutton if he's successful next Saturday.
Dutton is proposing nuclear energy and has also offered voters housing, tax and health incentives. But foreign policy issues are also shaping this federal election, as it coincides with US President Donald Trump's recent tariffs. Albanese has said he has different views from Trump, vowing to support free and fair trade, while Dutton, who has been seen as imitating Trump's rhetoric on immigration, said he trusts the US administration.
We can trust whoever's in the Oval Office, Mark, and we respect the views of the American people. They've elected a president.
China is another key issue, being both Australia's largest trading partner and its greatest strategic threat. Both Labour and the coalition say they want to continue to grow the trade relationship with Beijing. But Dutton has accused the Labour Party of being too soft on China and ignoring the country's threats to regional stability. With similar policy offers, both leaders have taken to the campaign trail to try and convince those undecided voters. And it will be the Australian public with the final say on Saturday. Eason Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan ranks second in the Asia-Pacific and 24th worldwide in this year's RSF World Press Freedom Index. The report noted that press freedom globally has reached a critical point as it continued to decline globally. To learn more, our reporter Tiffany Wong spoke with Alexandra Bielikovska, Advocacy Manager at Reporters Without Borders Asia-Pacific Bureau.
Taiwan is consistently ranked as one of the most free press environments in Asia. What can you tell us about this year's ranking?
Taiwan global ranking in index went up by 3 places, securing its position as the East Asia leader of press freedom and second in Asia Pacific just after New Zealand. However, when we go more in depth for the index analysis this year, we see that the overall score had only improved slightly by less than 1 point. In social indicator, Taiwan has grown by 4 points, which is quite significant. We see this as the raise in public trust in the media. At the same time, we also see that the political indicator has declined quite significantly by 2 points, which is related to the fact that we see the growing pressure from the political figures, government on some of the media outlets, but also the political fights in the parliament that leads to the limitation of the public funding for the broadcasters, public broadcasters inside of Taiwan.
So public media is one of the most trusted, but as you mentioned, they are also potentially vulnerable to political interference. How do we strike a balance with this?
This word transparency is so important because very often people don't know how the content in the media is created. They don't know that actually the media are ruled by specific ethical guidance that these media outlets have. But because of very harmful comments by some of the politicians, this can create very strange picture of the media outlets that says, for instance, that this is not the public media, it works more like the state media, but this is public media. So they're only founded by the governments. There should be no interference inside of them. It's something that politicians should understand also. So they shouldn't make any harmful comments and try to pressure this media outlets. Public media are one of the most trustable media outlets in Taiwan, and it's because they really produce unbiased, fact-checked source content. By cutting the funds for them, they really have limitation and they have a huge struggle to continue doing this work because they don't have enough financial sustainability to basically continue this work.
Speaking of government-funded media outlets, some of the U.S.'s biggest worldwide media initiatives like Voice of America and Radio Free Asia have been defunded or effectively shut down in the second Trump administration. What does this mean for the rest of the world?
For Asia-Pacific region, there's no other actor as important as the United States, which opens the door for the countries such as China, for instance, to literally share its propaganda, trying to make deals with these media outlets that still remain in the region. Hope that democracies, especially in the region, will wake up and they understand that without supporting these media outlets on the ground, not only VOA, RFA, but also supporting all journalists from RFA, VOA that are left alone in this situation. And I'm thinking here about democracy such as Japan, Korea, New Zealand, Australia, but also the countries such as Taiwan. And I think Taiwan could also play a role in it. We saw a small movement after Hong Kong when some media outlets started to operate from within Taiwan, but I think Taiwan should really open more doors via asylum legislations for them to come here, to report from here, and make it easier for them to continue the work when it's very difficult for them in Asia to keep doing this work, because very often they cannot stay in the places they used to work before due to these restrictions, pressure, violence even.
That was Alexandra Bielikovska of Reporters Without Borders. U.S. public broadcasters PBS and NPR are set to lose all federal funding following an executive order by U.S. President Donald Trump. The platforms, which provide news and entertainment programming across the U.S., get between 8 to 17% of their funding from the government, costing individual taxpayers around $1.5 a year. Both have warned that cuts would have a devastating impact on local stations and the Americans who rely on them for credible news, including during emergency situations. The White House has accused the platforms of being partisan and biased. That's despite PBS and NPR consistently ranking among the most trusted U.S. news providers. 7 crew members of a fishing boat that caught fire on Wednesday have made it back to land safely. Most of the crew were rescued by neighboring fishing boats after the fire broke out near the disputed Diaoyutai Islands, known as the Senkakus internationally. The main migrant worker crew were escorted back to land by Taiwan's Coast Guard on Thursday evening. Rescuers are still searching for 1 crew member. More people in Taiwan are getting inked up, a big change from the past when tattoos were seen as a symbol of rebellion and criminality. Our reporter Sandy Chi explains what's changed.
In a world of ink and needles, Hori Fu, a renowned tattoo artist here in Taiwan, has been leaving his mark for well over 4 decades. Fu is a living legend in the tattoo community, with a legacy etched into the skin of thousands of people. He began his tattooing career at the age of 16, when there were not many resources or mentors in the country.
就自己就有兴趣去搞那一块，就去研究它，对，去找书籍啊。那时候书籍还很少，我记得也是很后面才看到日本的一个杂志。
When Fu was first getting started, tattoos were not widely accepted by Taiwanese society. This form of art was traditionally linked with rebellious behavior or brotherhoods and gangs, making it extra difficult for tattoo artists like Fu to run a business.
那时候我们的招牌，那个警察还会来关心呢，就是不给挂，就是因为他们觉得这个是，就是会有可能会兄弟来这里聚集吧，所以那时候是属于很地下的一个文化。
Fu says gang members in Taiwan usually get tattoos related to their religious beliefs, which many call Taiwanese tattoo style.
是因为台湾有正头文化，那个就是庙会，所以庙会他们那些文化就是他们有他们信的神明，什么七爷八爷啦、关将手那时候有一阵子很多那个年轻人都来吃那个东西。
But things have changed a lot since those days. Now, it's not just gang members getting tattoos, it's people from all walks of life. From office workers to doctors to artists, and from young people to seniors, making tattoos a popular art form.
台湾这几年不是这个角头的电影很风行，那再加上我们的媒体本身自己，那又对这一块的部分也蛮推崇的。所以相对的，你看以前。 只要是包手啊，或者是包脚这种，然后一看到大家都觉得是兄弟。可是你在现在路边随便看到，到处都是。
Tattoos have gotten so big that there are annual exhibitions which draw thousands of tattoo enthusiasts, each with their own reasons for getting inked.
流行吧，流行，然后就有想去刺青，然后就开始一次就没有停下来了。
这台湾的神明就是妈祖，我觉得妈祖对我来说意义非常重大，所以我才会想把妈祖刺在我身上。就比如说我的事业，像我在开车，我就觉得他把我带在身上会有一种保佑的感觉啊。
Tattoo styles have also become more diverse, including Japanese styles, lettering, watercolor, and illustrative tattoos.
风格的自由度变得蛮高的，因为我那时候还在当学徒的时候，其实基本上是没有那么多风格，然后其实也只有传统店。
With the growing popularity of skin art, the Taiwan Tattoo Union says there are around 6,000 tattoo artists in the country. No longer an art form that has to be hidden or avoided. Artists like Hori Fu can run their businesses openly and proudly promote their work. Patrick Chen and Sunny Chi for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. As always, you can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, check out this interactive installation showing one of the oldest trees in London. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.